What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Trick Tins. This is part 7 of the YINTIN and the final reveal video. I am glad that this thing is done. I had a lot of time wrapped up into this build. I cannot wait until Ryan Yin gets to see this thing. I've sent him some pictures of it. I have not given him the full view of the entire boat yet. I think he's going to flip out when he sees this. I mean, the transformation that this thing went through from bare bones to where it is now, it's ridiculous. There's a lot of stuff in this boat. As small as it is, it doesn't seem that small. I did put it out on the water, ran it around. You're going to see some of that very shortly in this video, but I'm excited. I cannot wait until Ryan comes to pick this thing up in a couple of days. Alright, so the magic question. Everybody always wants to know, how much does this cost? How much is this build? It's all about the money, and that's all it boils down to everybody. Obviously, this boat was a lot of sponsorship that I did for Ryan because he is fishing a lot and he's got a lot of good content on TikTok and YouTube, and I wanted to help him out and get him a nice boat, and in turn, he's going to help me out. So he's getting a tremendous deal on this boat, and a build like this, if I were to do this, if someone just walked in off the street, asked me to do everything I did to this one, all the turf, paint, and everything, you're easily looking over $6,000. So, Ryan, you're getting a heck of a deal on this boat, and I really hope that you enjoy it, brother. Guys, so we got this thing out on the water. It's the moment of truth. It's finally time to go test this thing. Now, I just ran over here to this dock with my son, and we were only hitting about 16, 17 miles an hour. I'm gonna see what it can do with just me in it, but it is a true 9.9. I really think that it can do a lot faster than that, though. I'm gonna get out there and run around with it. But this project turned into a lot more than I thought it was gonna be. They all do. It looks sick, though. The turf, all the decals, everything turned out really well. Guys, I'm getting tore up by gnats right now. I don't know what's going on, but it's 92 degrees today. It is 4/20 Thursday, and we got Ryan coming to pick this boat up on Sunday. I'm gonna wrap this up pretty quickly and run through this whole boat because these bugs are tearing me up. Let's get right into it. I'm gonna hop up on the front of the bow and I'll show you guys the whole walkthrough real quick. All right, so the boat itself is a 1436 low. It's a 2020 rig, and it had really thin hull up in it. I replaced the front of it, and I built this transition down because I wanted to keep this deck as low as possible. Now, this boat is already shaky. I mean, I'm on my knees. This thing is rocking around pretty easily. Honestly, it was a little bit more stable than I thought it was gonna be, though. I was pretty impressed with that. But I did keep that deck as low as possible because the higher up you come with the deck, then the more it's gonna be unstable. But if you look up here on the front, I've got a recessed foot pedal tray in here. Now this is for his Garmin Force trolling motor, and this thing just fits perfectly. It blends right in with everything because the pan itself is the perfect height for that foot pedal tray. Now this Garmin Force motor up here, it actually did not make the boat sit to the side at all. I was pretty impressed. The way I got the layout with the battery staggered and the gas tank, I think that really helped out a lot, counteracting the weight of this, because this thing weighs a lot. It turned out really well in this custom mount up here though. This thing's sick. I ran around with it a few minutes ago and it definitely works. It'll tow this thing around pretty quick. I'm gonna get a speed test on that too, just to see how fast this thing will actually pull this little boat. And on the front deck, now this is a pretty good sized deck. This deck is probably about 6 foot long or so. I have to measure it, but I've got a big access panel here. Now this panel is basically going to be for all his tackle and his lightweight stuff. We don't really want to put any more weight up in the front of the boat. This thing is big though, and it's on gas pistons. All these hatches were custom built in the shop. I built all these hatches. This thing's completely turfed on the interior, all the hatches. There are white LED lights inside of all the compartments. In that big hatch, we have another hatch. Now this hatch is actually the bench seat that was originally in here. I basically used that same bench seat. I cut the hole out and dropped this hatch inside of it. And then I turfed inside of here. And once again, LED lights inside of all of these hatches. And that brings us into our last hatch on this front deck. This is a big hatch. This one houses his battery. He's got a battery charger in here. It's a 24-volt MillerTech battery. And this powers just the trolling motor, solely for the trolling motor. Got a couple of life jackets in here. But all in all, there's a lot of storage up inside of this compartment right here. And for a 1436, I mean, that is a gigantic deck. Lots of room, lots of storage. Let's get into the back of this boat. I put a floor in here. This floor is about 32 inches square. I did put some side panels in here. I did not incorporate any storage into these side panels. And he has the Angler's Choice logos on the top of the side panels cut into the graphics itself of the turf. It's pretty cool. It doesn't stand out as much as it could if it was a different colored turf scheme, but it's still pretty cool that they are in there. And we obviously have the big TRICKEDTIN's logo in the floor, which I think that's pretty dope too. But these side panels do not have compartments in them just because this boat was already overbuilt and I was trying to keep the weight down as much as possible. And I'm getting eaten up by gnats, guys. It's driving me nuts. But I did put some cup holders into these sides over here. He's got a cup holder on the port and the starboard, and his switch panel is incorporated right into the side. I was gonna put an electrical hatch in here, but I didn't do that. I just figured it'd be better like this. It's a small boat. We're already limited on how much we can put in here, so I had to do it like this, and I think it turned out sick. Now, that brings us into the back of the boat. We have one big hatch right here. This hatch is basically just fair game for anything. It's wide open, and this is the biggest storage compartment he has in the entire boat. So it's gonna give him a lot of room to put his tackle boxes and his bags or whatever big boxes that he has of plastic and tackle is gonna probably go right here in this area. This would also work out perfectly if he does fish in some type of tournament scenario or with a backseat boater. If he can fit all of his stuff up front, he could potentially leave some of this hatch open for his backseat boater to have some storage. So right behind that, that gets us our two hatches here. You gotta open this arm up, but there's a hatch on either side, like a French door. These things are sweet the way they open up. It works perfectly. I ran the gas line right through the center right here, and this gas hose is long, so I can actually pull this tank. I actually pulled it out at the pump, set it on the ground and filled it up and put it back in here with no problems. The other side has the other 12-volt MillerTech lithium battery, and he's also got a charger in here right next to that. And I did incorporate the fuse panel right here into this back bench area. Since we didn't do the electrical box, it worked out well to put it here, and it looks really neat. Everything ran in line. The switch panel's not that far away from it being right here, so it worked out pretty well. I'm happy with the way it turned out, especially for a boat this size. Now, the outboard motor. This boat is small. It probably can get away with just using the trolling motor, but this motor had to be taken out of here and put on a jack plate. That way I had enough room for these doors and stuff to open up. Without putting that motor on the jack plate, we lose all of this room back here. It's pretty much pointless. It makes it really difficult to close off this back area between the bench seat and the original transom. Now, this jack plate that I built, this thing is sweet. It brings the motor up 4 inches, and it also brings it back 5.5 inches. Now, I was only hitting about 16 miles an hour, 17 with my son. I'm gonna see what I can get out of it. I could bring this thing up a little bit higher. I figured since this is Fisher Yin's first boat and he's not really used to being out on the water in this boat, I'm gonna leave it where it's at. If we wanna bring it up a little bit, we could probably gain a little bit of speed, but he's gonna lose a little bit of handling, and it actually handled pretty well. So now that you guys have seen the entire boat, I'm gonna take this thing out on the water and go see what she can do.
Pete?
Are you residents of this neighborhood? This is private property. Who is this gentleman to you?
My dad.
What are y'all doing here?
Filming a video.
Yeah, you have to leave. I just say cutting donuts around this dock that's tied up and floating this big expensive.
Well, it's not a no-wake zone right here, but that's not a real sign. That's just somebody putting that up. All right, guys, so we're getting kicked out. I know we film a lot of videos in the same spot, but today apparently they're so crowded that we're not allowed to be here. There's about 6 slips over here, and we got one boat over here. And for some reason, this guy decided that he didn't want us to be out here because it's private property. I don't really see an issue with having a dock that has 6 open spots on it. It's literally about to be dark in about 15 minutes, but he decided to come over here and carrying us, and he was worried about that big boat right there being rocked around by this tiny little 1436 that I built. But hey, to each his own, guys. We're gonna move on to a different dock, and we'll pick up right where we left off. This big old boat called the Dream Catcher. He's worried about this thing getting knocked around. With its 300 horsepower outboard, this thing's probably 30 feet long, but you know, it is what it is. Private property, but I come out here all the time and look, we got all these open docks, one guy. It's funny, he just had to be a Karen today. All right, so running solo in this rig, I did hit 18.5 miles an hour. Now, if he did have the upgraded carbs, he might be able to run low 20s. If he did have one of those Suzuki or Tohatsu 99 20 horsepower ECU upgrades, I guarantee you this thing will be running 30 plus miles an hour. It's so small and lightweight. I kind of felt like it really didn't even get all the way up completely on plane. Like it was just kind of sitting and dragging in the water. So a 20 would really push this thing over the top, and you'd probably put the entire boat out of the water while you're on plane. Still 18.5 miles an hour. That's pretty quick. It's probably going to be enough for this boat. It is a riveted hull. You don't want to go too fast in these things. You're going to end up with a leak somewhere. I did not get a chance to test the top speed of the trolling motor. I did just put the same trolling motor into my Stratos, and that is a full-size fiberglass bass boat, and that was pulling that boat about 3.5 miles an hour. So I guarantee you that it was moving at least 4, maybe 5 miles an hour just with the trolling motor alone on high speed. I was really happy with this water test. Everything in the entire rig worked perfectly, and I didn't realize how that guy was talking to my son until I got home and played the video back and listened to it, but I was really disappointed. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he didn't realize my son was only 12 years old, but in the same sense, like, you don't have to be that way towards people. If you got a problem, it's a whole lot easier to talk somebody nicely, and they will be a whole lot more responsive to how you act towards them. I just feel like it's not worth all of that. Like, I would never do that to anybody. If I got a problem, I'm gonna come to you and talk to you direct. I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna be a dick out of the gate, but I get it. Some people, that's just how they are. Each his own, man. I had fun today. I had a good time with my son. The boat is amazing. I was happy with everything we've got into this rig. I hope that Ryan enjoys this boat. I hope that you guys enjoyed this whole build series. I really had a good time building this boat, and I cannot wait to record this video with Ryan of the reveal. I think it's going to be sweet, and I think that a lot of his followers are going to jump over to my page to see what I'm up to, because I'm going to keep building some crazy rigs. I've got a couple more already lined up that I'm going to be doing full builds on, and I've got some other cool stuff coming down the pipeline, guys. I want to give a big shout out to my son Tyler. He's 12 years old. He helped me out with this video. He recorded the entire reveal for me. He did the same thing with Billy's boat, the creature build. He helps me a lot. He's a great cameraman. He's just an overall great kid. I am blessed to have him as a son, and he did a good job composing himself and handling himself with that guy talking to him on the dock. It really hurt my feelings that he was up there by himself with that guy, but he did a great job. This YINTIN is done. It looks sick. The bugs were eating us up out there, so we headed back to the dock. He waited in the truck because the bugs were tearing us alive. I wanted to get some more footage of this boat, when the sun started setting a little bit. The lights look so cool reflecting off of the water. I really like the colorway that we went with. I went back and forth with Ryan a couple of times, but I think that this really sets it off because the yellow lights on the inside reflect off of the white and the turf, and the red on the outside kind of matches his whole theme. He wanted to have a red boat. Well, he has a red boat at night because it looks like it's red with these LED lights on at night. All in all, the YINTIN turned into one sweet trick tins. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'm gonna do a giveaway at 10,000 subscribers. I'll see y'all next time. I gotta get back to work.